to television to some extent, but not very much. As we discussed, they don't really bring out a lot of truth.
Right.
But especially thanks to the internet and internet, what should I say, sites like YouTube and Facebook and all that. People communicate and talk to each other and spread the word, which the mainstream media will never touch.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. When your chapter 1 begins with a story about the dreaming child, I thought that was a really interesting story that you shared about your son. Would you care to talk about that chapter a little bit?
Yes. It was actually what happened was my son had a nightmare. He was about 3, and he came running to my bed and was upset. When he had sort of calmed down and I wanted to put him back again, he didn't want to, and said, "No, Dad, I don't want to. There is a dream in my bed." And so, of course, he understood.
Well, we had a little technical glitch, and I apologize for any silence on the line, but we have Dr. Jens back, and he's going to continue where we left off talking. So, Dr. Jens, would you continue wherever we were?
Yes, well, I was talking about my son's dream, where he located the dream to the bed, where he dreamt it, and didn't want to go back to the bed because of that.
Right.
And then from there I discussed in the book, this is in the first chapter of Cracking the Rainbow Code, to the concept of non-locality, which has everything to do with consciousness, with the soul, because I see those as non-physical, as non-material, and as outside and independent of the space-time continuum of our physical universe. To continue this thread, I had a difficult time when I was teaching medical students in Sri Lanka to make them understand that information is non-material and cannot be expressed in material terms as such. They need a vehicle or a storage device, which are all material, but the information itself is totally non-material and does not obey the rules of the physical universe. This is very difficult to understand for someone who's brought up in the Western sort of materialistic mentality.
Right.
And with modern physics that believes that matter is the original thing and everything came out of matter. And of course I say that seeing the world in that way is exactly the same as believing that it is the cart that pushes the horse forward rather than the horse that is pulling the cart.
Right,
and
absolutely.
And so the non-locality is in a sense a consequence or maybe a proof, if you like, of the non-material, of the sort of fact that the soul and the information is non-material and is independent of our material universe. And to me, the soul is really a form of information, and I also say that what should I say? Information is necessary for any physical manifestation because it does give the coordinates, it determines form, the shape, the function, everything. That is information, but it is immaterial. And that information, as far as I'm concerned, can also be called the soul of any object, of anything material, anything physical. I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but you're welcome to question.
Yes, it does. I've thought for a long time that we actually are made manifest out of the invisible realms, and one of the problems that we have is falling prey to believing what we see, and then that's all there is. But so many quantum physicists and scientists are now saying that there are multiple dimensions and that consciousness exists prior to and creates at the level of thought or faster the material world. And
exactly, yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly my opinion also.
Yeah, you met Dr. Niels Bohr, I believe, who used the analogy about the atomic as above, so below. The atom instantly communicates with the other part, even if it's across the universe. Didn't you mention something like that in the book?
Yes, well, that's Bell's theorem, which says that two paired particles, once they are sort of coupled, and if they are spread across the universe, and one changes spin, the other one changes spin at the same instant.
Yeah.
And so it's some kind of unity between them, regardless of the distance, which is not communication in our normal sense, because it is not information that is sent from one end of the universe to the other, but it's just there. And of course now with quantum physics, I don't like the term quantum mechanics. I think it's
yeah, right.
It's a misnomer.
You're right.
There was one. Yeah. But anyway, and of course, quantum may not be quite the right word either, but this is the one we have. And so that, of course, shows us that there's more to the universe than the classical physics could explain.
And you also talk about this being a holographic reality and the universal hologram. That is, which is related to what we're talking about, that from one small, tiny fragment, a grain of sand, everything can be recreated. Am I reading that correctly?
Everything can be recreated from a grain of sand, but for instance, supposedly a complete human being or any living being can be recreated from just the DNA in one single cell of that body, any cell, which is rather remarkable. I mean, it doesn't make too much sense from the materialistic point of view. But there it is. The information, the complete information for the entire organism is stored in each and every cell that belongs to that organism. And of course this also shows, I think, that we cannot, well, we can understand, of course, if we really can read the DNA information. But what I meant to say is that each cell is constructed or created to order for the organism as a whole, as a servant to the purpose of that organism. And it's not as if you...
BBS Radio.
Well, so here we are again after another pause in the universal scheme of things. The gods of Skype are not smiling on us tonight, so they're throwing lightning bolts. we're going to give it one more try here, and if it drops off again, then that will just be a sign from the gods. So let's see, where are we? Where were we? Where can we go, Dr. Jens?
Yes.
Well, we were talking about
we were talking about the holistic, the holographic nature of the universe, as it were. How this means that the entire information for the whole organism is stored in each and every part of that organism, for instance. And this is true of the human being, where the DNA holds, in every single cell, holds the complete information for the entire organism. And we can see that on many different levels also. And one way which the physicists may not think is very appropriate, I don't know, but to me the atom is very similar to the solar system that it is part of. And of course in the human body, where we have been working with holistic medicine, we have what is called zone therapy, or reflexology, which is based on the fact that in each and every part of the body, I'm not talking about the cells now, but like the feet or the hands or the back or the gum or practically any part of the body, the scalp, you have zones that correspond to all the other parts of the body. And by treating these zones, you actually treat the corresponding part of the body. And it works. It's very effective.
Well, in the Western form of medicine is probably mostly left-brained, in that it's really designed around the paradigm of sales and greed, and keeping people locked into treatments and medicines that they probably don't even need, and that are maybe even damaging to the body. You mentioned the split between the left and right brain. We could talk about that as well, and the healing that needs to occur between those two, and the pharmaceutical companies that are pretty much running the medical community.
Yes, absolutely. There you touched on one of my hobby horses.
Well, it's one of mine too.
I've been into holistic medicine for like 20 years, and of course I have been able to see a lot of things.